Good morning, everyone. Please settle down. I welcome you all to begin day 2 of SOA Literature Festival. I am Dr. Nidhi Garg, a counseling psychologist, poet, and your host for the first 4 sessions of the day. Our first session is on the book All the Love You Deserve. प्रेमेव हृदयानी भद्रांति प्रेम ही हृदयों को जोड़ता है. Quoting Victor Hugo, life is the flower for which love is the honey. The emotion of love is a fundamental aspect of the human experience, influencing various dimensions of life, from personal relationships to physical and mental health. It contributes to a sense of connection, purpose, and fulfillment, making it a vital component of human being. I would like to call upon our esteemed guest, Preeti Shenoy. Can we put our hands together for Preeti Shenoy? She has written 15 bestsellers, ranks among the highest selling authors in India. She is also on the Forbes long list of the most influential celebrities in India. She has represented India at international literature festivals in Birmingham, Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, and other places. She is the recipient of several awards, including Indian of the Year Award for 2017 and Award for Business Excellence by the New Delhi Institute of Management. An avid fitness enthusiast, she is also an artist specializing in portraiture and illustrated journals. Her short stories and poetries have been published in magazines such as Quan Nost and Verb. Quoting her, "The world is indeed a better place when there is love, friendship, acceptance, and hope. Powered by these, you can indeed overcome anything, including destiny." And to moderate this session, we have Mahua Sen. Can we have a big round of applause for Mahua Sen? She is also the recipient of Royal International Poetry Award, Poesis Award for Excellence in Literature in Bharat Award International, the Poet of the Year Award by Yukato, 40 Under 40 Leadership Award by the Business Mint. She is an author, poet, editor, and translator. Her works have been published in magazines like Outlook India, Saranga, Spill Words. Now I leave the stage for both of them to do an enriching conversation.
A very warm welcome, Preeti. It's such an honor to have her here with us today. Can we have a big round of applause for her, please? Come on, Soa, I can't hear that. Thank you. And today we are going to discuss about a recent book, All the Love You Deserve. But Preeti, before delving into the book, I want to take you back to your growing up years. So take us through your growing up years and when exactly did you identify that you're meant for writing?
Very good morning to everyone. It's wonderful to be in Bhubaneswar. You all live in such a pretty city. I don't know if you all know that. Because, coming from Bangalore, I found so much artwork on the walls. Like I went around yesterday, I took an auto and went around. And it was so beautiful. Everywhere I turned, there was beautiful artwork commission and so clean. Bhubaneswar is very clean. So I'm very, very happy to be here. So thank you so much, SOA and Gayatri ma'am, for inviting me. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here. And before I answer your question, were you all forced to come? I see a lot of school kids or college kids. Were you all forced to attend the session? Okay, even if you are forced, I hope I make it interesting and worth your while. So thank you for being here. So can we just, change this podium a bit because I can't see the audience. They are hidden. This one, can we just shift this a little bit? Yeah, this one, just shift it a little bit. Yeah. Just because that audience is hidden, so I have to do this to see the people sitting there. Yeah, just shift it a little bit there, to the left. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, so to answer your question, in my childhood, my father had a transferable job. I went to a very ordinary government schools throughout. I studied in Kendriya Vidyalaya throughout. And whichever place I went to, my dad had a huge collection of books. So whichever place I went to, the books would travel with us. So my friends would change, the place I was in would change, the language would change. But one thing which remained constant in my life was books. And any place we went to, I just come from a normal middle class family, and honestly, we couldn't afford to buy books. So everywhere we went to, my dad would take a membership in a library. So every place I have grown up in, I have been a member of the library. And I remember how it was when, I've been in Mangalore, I've been in Chennai, I've been in Cochin, and I remember how it was. We used to have this lending library called Murugan Lending Library in Chennai. So I would go, and my mom would give me, this was back in probably 1980 or 1978. So my mom would give me 2 rupees per week. So I would take that 2 rupees, I would go to the library, I would take the book, and I would see the cost. And we had to pay 10% of the book as reading charges. Couldn't afford it, would keep it back. And I can't tell you how much that hurt. It really hurt because I couldn't afford books. So, and from there, and then we would buy second-hand books. So, I had a treasure trove of books. My dad would subscribe to Reader's Digest. So, I've grown up with books around me. And I think books can really, truly change your life. Books can be that friend. When you don't have any friends, a book can be your friend. It can give you guidance. It can give you everything that you want. You can learn from books. And you can travel far with a book, even without ever having visited that place. So this was what my childhood was like.
Oh, great. And as I know, you were a blogger. And how was your transition from being a blogger to a bestseller? And when you were writing your first novel, 34 Bubblegums, did it ever occur to you that you're gonna make it this big?
No, I never thought that, but I have always written. My first book was at the age of 5 or 6. But before you think I'm some kind of a genius, the book was just 6 pages long. And 4 of it was a story because I would read all kinds of books, Enid Blyton and Treasure Island and R.K. Narayan. So it was a mishmash of all of that. And 2 pages were illustrations. So this was my first book. And that time I used to wonder, how are people writing such long books, like 200 pages books? How are they writing? But now I know the answer to that. But I never thought that I would be this successful. I always used to win prizes in college for my short stories, for my essays. All of that I used to win. And it was actually a very sad incident which made me take my writing public. So what happened is my father passed away all of a sudden in 2006. He was supposed to visit me a week later. Okay, he was just speaking to my mother. One moment he was there. The next moment he was gone. So I was devastated. I didn't know what had hit me. I had my children were small at that time. I was living in Pune. And it was really sad. Every morning I had to get up. It felt like, and I was very close to my father. I would speak to him every day. So to get over that grief of losing him, I said, I started a blog. Okay, I started a blog, and that was in 2006. Every single day. In fact, you guys can go and see the blog, blog.preetishenoy.com. The very first post I made, it's full of typos and it's full of small errors, but I left it like that because I said that was my mental state at that time, So I said, everything is dark. So what can I do? I said, one positive thing which I find, I will write about it. So, it could be as simple as a rainbow I saw. It could be a cup of tea which someone made for me, which I'm grateful. But I was in a very dark place. So I was writing that to get over the grief. And gradually the little positive things which I put there was being read by so many people all over the world. So, I got mails from someone in Brazil, someone in UK. Later he became my friend. My readership slowly grew. And in January the following year, One of my blog posts was picked up by a radio show host in the US. And that post was about my father. So, it just came a full circle. And after that, I started writing for Chicken Soup for the Soul. Then I went on to write for a local newspaper. Then I wrote for Times of India. Then I wrote for Chicken Soup for the Soul. Then the gradual transition of all this was from that into a novel. My first book was a collection of my blog posts.
Yes.
So people just think, oh, from blogger to novelist. That's not true at all. It's taken me many, many years to achieve this fame and success. And I was writing when nobody was reading me. When initially I wrote my blog, nobody was reading me, I was writing. Today, millions of people are reading me and I'm still writing, So it's not like I don't see that as it was a very huge transition, but it was very gradual.
Okay. And how difficult was it to publish your first book?
See, my first book was way back then. And that time, I think it was the first creative non-fiction. Because that book was called 34 Bubblegums and Candies. So I said every incident that happens to us, it can be like a bubble gum where we keep chewing, take something out of it and then spit it out. Or it can be very sweet like a candy. Where something sweet, memorable, we remember. So later that book was republished as Love a Little Stronger, but it was the first creative non-fiction. Because that book is not fiction, it is real incidents from my life. So at that time I would say it wasn't hard. But one would think that if one book is published, everything is smooth, but that's not true. My second book, Life is What You Make It. Can you guess how many times it was rejected? Any idea? Yes, over 40 times. That over 40 times my second book, Life is What You Make It, was rejected. And today that book has sold over 1 million copies.
Wow.
So that's the thing. Had I given up after the second rejection, third rejection, or fourth rejection, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because that book is on mental health and it's about a girl with bipolar disorder. No one wanted to publish it at that time. That book was very hard to get published.
And Preeti, like DJ Tool had said, that I write to find out what happens next. And until it is on the paper, everything is new to me. So is it the same with you, or you, follow a structured pattern while writing? What's your writing process?
For me, it's very structured. I will plan everything from the first chapter to the last chapter. Because if something is happening in the 17th chapter, there might be some small hint about that in the first chapter. So now, unless you plan and unless you plot, your craft is not going to be fantastic, is what I would say. Because for me, it's very important to plan. I'm a total plotter. I completely plot, plan. I do a lot of research. Like in one of my books, there is a small scene where the father-in-law faints. But then, if the father-in-law has to faint, like I have done at least 15 pages of research, because then his blood sugar has to be this. If his blood sugar has to be this, he should have eaten at this time. So for me, every little thing is meticulously researched. So there would be a mention of he had his coffee and then why didn't he have anything else? Because this.
Wow.
Because I know he's going to faint later, So for me, it is all very researched, meticulously researched.
Wow. So now we know why she is what she is now, So tell us, is it, when we talk about the process of writing, are you do you need a solitary space for writing, or you can write in a, when others are there in the family as well? How do you manage your time to write? Because writing 15 novels in 16 novels now. 16 novels in 14 years is really an incredible feat, I would say. So how do you manage time?
No, for me, I need my space to write. So earlier I had a dog. I'm a huge animal lover. So I had a huge Doberman. So my Doberman would be my armrest. She'll sit with me on the bed. I can't write in crowded places. I can't write if there's noise and all of that. So it's just my room, my bedroom I need, and I just need to sit and start writing. Now my dog sadly passed away, and now, one pregnant cat came and laid kittens. Now I have 5 cats. So now my cats are around me when I write. So I just need my space and my animals to be able to write.
And your readers, let me tell you, absolutely marvel at the versatility of the themes that you choose for your books. For 34 Bubblegums, it's all about, the personal anecdotes. And then you write about Ankita and the mental health issues she faces. And then my favorites, as I was telling backstage, secret wish list, where, the protagonist is, making sure that she can tick all the boxes. And then we have these books, which talks about love and relationships. and so on and so forth. So, I mean, do you have a, secret wishing tree or something that yields, story ideas instead of flowers? I really want to know that.
How I wish it was so easy. So for me, it is that I am deeply affected by the issues that I see in society, which we all feel helpless about. For example, 100 Little Flames, it's the story, the hero of the book is actually an old man, octogenarian. He's in his 80s. He's an old man called Gopal Shankar. He's very grumpy. He's got all the old people's problems. And I realized that old people are neglected really in society. While we say Dadu, Dadi and all, who really sits with them and listens to their stories? So my mother told me about something that she had read about. My mother lives in Kerala, where old people were abandoned in temples. So they take old people to the temples and they say, we are coming back, and they never come back for them. And this not only in Kerala, it's happened in many states in India where the elderly are abandoned. So I felt that I had to write a book where the elderlies have stories which we don't know. So that's how that book, 100 Little Flames came about. So like that, each book, there will be some incident which sparked off. It's all in the planets. So I was telling Nidhi, the heroine of that book is Nidhi. So I was telling her that I was traveling in Shatabdi from Delhi to Chandigarh at that time. And, I took that paper over there, and there was this astrology horoscope prediction, which we all see in the newspaper. And I said, who is writing all this astrology prediction? Is it true? Are they making up stuff? Are they really sitting there and doing some astrology? So I said, what if I write a book where each chapter starts with a prediction, and end of the chapter, you come to know, has the prediction come true or not? I thought that was a very nice idea to explore. So I got that idea and I wrote it. Then this specific book, it's set in the post-pandemic times. Because I felt the pandemic really threw all our life into a terrible mess. And especially the young people that I see today, you all must have missed college, right? School. 3 years. How was it to study from home? How was it? Hard, right? Yeah, it was
Come
very
on.
hard. So it was unprecedented. None of us have ever faced that before, where 2 years we are locked in the house and we are sitting in front of a screen, and it's really played havoc with our mental health. And I felt that I had to write a book about young people, which is set in the current times, because whenever I have 2 grown-up children, my son is 25, my daughter is 22. So when I spoke to their friends, I understood that the problems that they face are nothing which our generation has faced before. So your teachers are not going to understand, your parents are not going to understand really, because you guys face a different set of problems which none of us have faced. And then we all like to give advice. Parents like to give advice. Beta, you do this. When I was your age, we used to do like this. We never had all these mobile phones. But the thing is, mobile phones, social media are a part of our lives today. And all those issues I have addressed in this book. So that's how my books come about.
Wow. Preeti, to begin with, let me ask you about the cover of the book, because I know the prequel was designed by your daughter, Purvi. So what about this book? There's a beautiful cover. Talk about the cover.
Yeah, so this cover was designed by someone from my publisher's side, because my daughter is working now as a designer in London. And also the publisher had a very good designer. So then we looked at many designs. So we wanted it to look similar to the first book, but yet when you see it, it should be different. So the first book has that little jar with fairy lights, When Love Came Calling. So this one we retained the same jar theme, but the designer came up with a very good design, and everyone got together and selected it.
Wow. Can you read a small excerpt to get a hang of the book?
Yeah,
Probably,
sure.
Yeah.
So how many of you have read this book? It has just released, so I don't expect anyone.
Halfway through it.
Yeah. So I don't think any of you have read it, because it just released 2 days back. So I'll just read the back cover just to give you an idea about what it's like. The same characters from my book, When Love Came Calling, are here. When Love Came Calling won the most popular fiction award in Author Awards by Times of India. So Pooja, that's Pooja and Arush. So Pooja belongs to this extremely rich family in India, and her mother is a surgeon. Her father is a very successful businessman. Her sister has done her MBA, and Pooja fails all her classes. Pooja doesn't know what she wants to do in life. And Pooja says, everyone says, find your passion. And do what you're passionate about. But what if you don't know what your passion is? Because many of us don't know. And she says, all this is made up by these authors and self-help gurus who will say, find your passion. It's not so easy. So that's Pooja for you. And then there is Arush. He's born and brought up in the UK. And the only thing Indian about him is his name. His father has said he wants to raise him in UK. And there's a lot of reasons why that I have addressed in the book. And Arush is this very sorted young man. He's got an art scholarship. And he gets a chance to travel to India. And he meets Pooja. And they're very different from each other. Pooja is fiery, bold. Arush is shy. And they both slowly fall in love in the first book. And then they separate because you know how it is. They don't know, is it a crush? Is it true love? They don't know. So now their story continues in this book. They are in 20s and the pandemic has hit them. And they have not seen each other for 2 years. So I'll just read out the back blurb. Pooja and Arush, separated by 5,000 miles, are steadfastly committed to each other. They believe they can make it work until time zones and life get in the way. Sujit, trapped between his troubled past and turbulent present, desperately wants to break free, but does not know how to. He hopes to make things right with Pooja, but will she ever forgive him? Even as three of them grapple with life in the post-pandemic world, each must discover their calling and manage family relationships and their own unruly emotions. But then, no one said adulting was easy. This is the story of three young people from starkly different backgrounds with intertwined faiths, fighting to say what they value the most. Will they have to give up? What will they have to give up to get what they want? So that's the back blurb of this book.
So all the characters of your story, as you just read, come from multicultural background. So how do you think the multicultural background of the characters as well as the setting, as we just read out, impact the story and the narrative? And what do you think the readers will take away from this multicultural explorations?
So I think it's very important because there are class differences in society, and I think we have to understand that. See, Pooja comes from an extremely rich background. She's very privileged. Sujit comes from a very lower middle class background, and he's struggling to make it in life. He doesn't have the resources which Pooja has. Arush comes from a foreign background, and India is new to him. And even in UK, so the book is partly set in Birmingham, it's partly set in Varkala. So he also faces, and partly set in Kochi. And even in Birmingham, Arush faces similar challenges. So your background doesn't matter. What matters is how you face the challenge. So if you all want to get a taste of the book without giving spoilers, I can read out maybe 2 lines. You tell me a page number. I'll open that page number and read out 2 lines. Would you all like that? Yes. I can't hear you all. Louder. Yes, okay, great. So any of you tell a page number. I'll pick out and I'll read 2 lines from that page because I think that will be more fun than me just reading. Page number. Tell one page number.
Pick out a page number. Anyone? Just a random
21.
page number.
Okay. 21. I'll just read out 21. I'll just read out 2-3 lines so that there are no spoilers. And so the book is told from 3 points of view. It's Sujit will speak, Pooja will speak, Arush will speak, and so on. So 21, which you have selected, is from Sujit's point of view. It's a miracle that I managed to clear the final year exams. My marks aren't great, but the fact that I even passed comes as a relief to me. Turns out my father had been laid off 5 months back, and he was under huge stress. He hadn't told any of us, and we discovered all of this only after he had passed away. That's a para. Any other page number? I'm happy to read, yeah. 10, okay. Let me see what is in 10. Okay, 10 is in Pooja's voice. So you get to hear Pooja's voice. The other thing that worries me is how Divya seems to be withering away right in front of my eyes. I decide to speak to my parents about it. I get my chance next day when Amma returns earlier than usual from the hospital and Divya is in her room. Amma, you're back early. I follow her into the bedroom. I'm genuinely pleased to see her. I'm proud of the work she has done during the pandemic, the lives she saved, risking her own. not caring about the danger of being in COVID-19 wards. Yes, I have taken 4 days off. Combine it with a Sunday and we have 5 whole days, she beams. That's nice. How come? They've hired 2 more doctors and they will cover for her. Acha informs me as he enters the bedroom. So that's Pooja, and Divya is her sister. So in the first book, you see that Divya is very sorted and everything. Second book starts with Divya being in complete shambles. Divya's engagement has broken off. She has lost her job. And Divya is like withering away, and Pooja is worried about it. So that was what I read out just now.
Yeah, from what you read just now, there's an intricate interplay between identity and belonging in this book. So we see that Dr. Harsh, when we start reading this in the first chapter, we find Sujit as a bereaved son, mourning his father's death, and he's taking therapy from Dr. Harsh. And at some point, Sujit says that while writing a letter to Pooja, right, he says that, therapy, now that I'm mentioning therapy, I sound so dumb. So there's a stigma attached to the word therapy and mental health and all of that. And you write a lot about mental health, not only in this book, but before also through Ankita you have. Yeah, so can you please, throw some light on that part?
So I think mental health is really, really important. But more important than that is to find a good therapist. And see, the thing is, we go to the gym for our physical health. But what are we doing for our mental health really? It's not talked about. It's mostly hushed up. So I feel things like meditation, it's so good. I keep talking about it on my Instagram. If you guys haven't checked out my Instagram, check out my page, preeti.shenoy. So at preeti.shenoy on Instagram. I give a lot of tips because I feel it's so important to take care of your mind because that's everything. See, you might have all the success, but if you don't have mental health,
very true,
you are not going to achieve, not even achieve, you're not going to be at peace. So it's so important to not compare. So to that extent, I feel this book has lot of takeaways.
I'm sure.
Lot of takeaways. So, and I feel mental health, and it should not come from a preachy way. So hence I made Dr. Sujit very young, very Dr. Harsh. I made him very young. I made him very relatable. And Sujit says that he expected Dr. Harsh. I'll read out that line. Yes, you must read that. I'll just read out the first page of this book. Some chapters in your life, and this is in Sujit's voice, some chapters in your life should stay closed. They are done, over. There's nothing you can do about them because they have already been written. But Dr. Harsh doesn't think so. His deep-set brown eyes are filled with compassion as he looks at me on Skype. The only reason I'm taking these free therapy sessions offered by the Samajam is because Amma insisted. What do you lose by trying therapy? We don't even have to pay for it. Dr. Harsh is one of the best in India, she said. It is only to placate her that I booked online slots with Dr. Harsh. I thought he would be a boring middle-aged man who would give me sermons on facing grief and becoming the man of the family, just like all my relatives did after Acha passed away. But Dr. Harsh turned out to be surprisingly young, sharp and astute. He never tells me what to do, but asks questions which make me think. So I continue with the free therapy, much to Amma's delight. Look, Sujit, whatever happened to you in the past, it happened only once. But each time you think about it, the pain comes only because of the story you make up about it. They are stories, not facts, he says. I'm not making up any story. All of it happened exactly like I told you. I am not for a moment insinuating that you are being untruthful. Let me explain what I mean. Dr. Harsh loves to use long words like insinuating. I make a mental note to look up the meaning of the word later. The sweltering summer in Kochi is getting to me. I feel sweat trickling down my armpits underneath the t-shirt I'm wearing. I wish for the 100th time we could afford air conditioning. I wipe the sweat off my forehead with a hand towel. Are you with me? He asks. I nod. If you pass a stranger on a street, would you remember them? Unlikely, unless they were dressed in a Kathakali costume. Yes, exactly. When you pass strangers on a street, it's unmemorable because there is no strong emotion attached. Consider a teacher humiliating a student in class. And this is for all of you who are sitting here. Consider a teacher humiliating a student in class. We know how traumatic that feels. But two students might deal with it in two completely different manners. One might feel bad but move on. To the other, it might be a disaster he will never recover from. The second student has made up a story, and because of this, he's trapped in a pain cycle as he believes his story to be true. Do you get what I'm saying? Dr. Harsh asks, his voice gentle, persuasive. I nod, though I do not fully agree with him. So,
So that's Sujit for you. When we talk about
and that's Dr. Harsh. I think
Yes.
that's a very important point Dr. Harsh made, that if the teacher insults the students, two students take it completely differently. And that's, I think, one thing which I've addressed in the book.
Yes, absolutely. And when you spoke about, you read about Sujit, and in the prequel to this book, when love comes calling, we almost loathe Sujit because of all the things that he does. He is the bad guy, and he inflicts so much of trouble to the protagonist Pooja, and we despise him. And this book, the sequel to, this All the Love You Deserve, it opens with Sujit in a way that we instantly connect with him, and we empathize with him because he's, he regrets all the bad things he has done in the previous, book, before pandemic. So how this, paradigm shift of Sujit's character, would you like to throw some light on that?
Yeah, because I really feel all people who do drugs aren't bad. Okay, the society loves to put those people, good for nothings, they sideline them, they don't give them any attention. But I think what they need is understanding, what they need is love, and they are capable of change. So in this book, I wanted, and why do they become the way they become? It's because of the society. It's because of the pressures, because not everyone can cope with the pressures in the same way. So in this book, I wanted to throw light on that. Hence, it starts with, we understand, in that book, we saw only one side of Sujit, the bad side. But there is another side to him. He's a loving son, he's a caring brother, and he's an entrepreneur. Even in the first book, he was an entrepreneur, but he did illegal stuff. In this book, he says, I'm done with that, and his father has passed away, so he wants to do something. So it starts with that, because I feel everybody deserves a second chance, and I feel no matter where you are at present, it is possible to change your life. We can change our life starting right now. Okay, we can take small steps. Suppose you're in a very sad place. Suppose you're very depressed. One day you might do nothing but stay in bed and watch Netflix all day. That's okay. Next day, if you have got out of bed, gone to the dining room, drank water and come back, it's that 1%. Okay, so and like that, if you're doing that little step every day, it's possible to make a change. And that theme is what I have explored in this book.
Yes. And Sujit at some point feels that, ousted from the crowd, and he talks to Harsh, and Harsh says that we are a part of herd. And once we are rejected from our herd, our life, stops there. So what do you have to say about that part?
I think it's very important. Don't you all want to fit in with your friends? Yes or no? Yeah, we all have groups, right? Yeah, even I had that group in college. I was a part of 4 girls, and our group, we used to have fun, but we used to also study. I used to bunk classes, but I used to also get very good marks. So teachers didn't know what to do with us. So, that was the thing. So I think it's very important to fit in, but it's also so important to have your own identity. And when we are young, when we are in our 20s, we really struggle with this. And similarly, my protagonists, all the 3 in this, Sujit also struggles, Pooja also struggles, Arush also struggles, because, they don't know. You guys are still finding your place. And today I'm in my 50s, so I can be very confident. I can know what to say. And my daughter always tells me, she says, Mama, I'm very lucky, because, you're very understanding. You can guide me, she says. She says some of my friends, they don't even tell their parents what they are up to. She says because her parents won't understand. So her friends do all kinds of things, but they don't tell their parents. So I feel it's so important to find your identity, to explore, to find out. And unless there are rules, and it's important to have rules, because unless there are rules, we can go haywire. And unless you push those rules, you won't know what you're capable of. So it's normal, I feel. I feel it's normal to bunk classes. It's normal to, even if you fail the subject, that's fine. You can still study hard, try again, find the root cause of why you have failed, identify that problem. Maybe you're not able to understand the subject. Maybe your phone is distracting you. In which case, make an effort to put your phone on silent. So all these things my protagonists face in this book.
And there's a great takeaway from the prequel as well, where the fundamental takeaway is family is everything for all of you here. You know that your family will always have your back, and they'll never go AWOL, and they'll never bail out on you. So, what is without giving out too much, what is the fundamental takeaway from this book? Do you think?
So this book, there are a whole lot of takeaways. One is it's okay to be different because Sujit is very different from others. That's one of the key themes. The second takeaway I would say is family is everything. So in the first book, Pooja's parents, her sister, get very angry with her and she runs away. She leaves home and runs away to UK. But in the second book, they're very supportive. Because at the end of the day, even if your parents shout at you, they're doing it because they care for you. They care genuinely for you. So that's another takeaway. And there are many more takeaways which I'll just tell you what. And that embrace change, so important because everything is not going to stay constant. Today there might be something, tomorrow there might be something else. My protagonists are put through a series of changes. So that's a takeaway. And a very important takeaway is most people are not what they seem. Okay, when you meet someone for the first time, they seem like something else, but it's only after knowing them for a couple of years, couple of months, they show their true colors. Pooja learns this the hard way in this book. Then the other takeaway is sometimes when things don't work out, it's best to cut your losses and move on. Jenna does this. When the relationship is not working with Arush, she tries her best. When that doesn't happen, she moves on. And people make mistakes, forgive them, talk about it. So Pooja does forgive Arush for his mistakes. So a whole lot of takeaways, but not in a preachy way, in a very interesting way in which it's interwoven in the story, that you don't even realize it's a takeaway. After you read the book, you'll probably realize that.
You just spoke about the relationship we need to share with our children, the parent-children relationship. And I know you shared a wonderful relationship with Purvi, and she has been an indispensable part of your previous book as well as this. Would you say a bit about that and about this beautiful, beautiful takeaway, I would say, yes.
Yeah, so each book comes with a nice nice sticker. So can I just have that? So this is a self-care checklist. This was designed by my daughter. And my son also has been a great part of this book because I speak to his friends. My son is a tattoo artist. He's 25. My daughter is a graphic designer. Both are in the creative field. So I speak a lot to them. So I got a very good insight into young people's minds. So a lot of people ask me, how are you able to connect to the young people? It's because of my children. And I feel it's important to have that connection with your children so that they tell you they are going to experiment, they are going to do things.
Near the lift. Excuse me there.
They are talking. Yeah, that's okay. Let them talk. To each their own. It doesn't bother me. As long as you guys are, listening, that's fine. Yeah, so I feel it's so important to have that connection with your children. And another thing is it's important to realize that the rules that were applicable for you may not be applicable for our kids. Because our kids face different problems from what we faced. And that's something that I have addressed in the book.
Yes, and who's your favorite character in this book as well as I would like to know in the prequel as well?
This book definitely Sujit, because no girl can resist a bad boy
And
turned
what about
good.
Dr. Harsh? I like him too.
Oh yeah, Dr. Harsh is very handsome and very nice. Like, Dr. Harsh is nice, but Dr. Harsh doesn't have trauma. So Sujit has that trauma. He's that bad boy. All girls will fall in love with Sujit in this one for sure. In the first book, they fell in love with Arush. And this book is also a love
Shanti
triangle.
Chechi too. I like her so much.
Yeah, and she has also faced trauma. I think people who face trauma turn out to be beautiful people. Because I think the trauma somehow, changes us.
Are we done? I mean, have you exhausted time? We have time. Preeti, in the prequel, you do not, there is a cliffhanger at the end because you do not give closure to Sujit. We, as readers, we think what happened to Sujit. He suddenly disappears, right? And there is a, closure to Arush and Pooja, but you do not talk much about them as well. They do reconcile, but you don't talk much about them. it ends haphazardly, I feel, to an extent. I want more out of it, you know. So what about this book? Without giving out too much to them, can we expect a threequel, you know, after this book?
Yes, definitely. Because see, I really feel life is like that. We want everything neatly wrapped up with a bow on top. But life is not like that. Yeah, life is messy. Sometimes you won't get endings. You don't always get what you want. And so my books are like that as well. You'll feel good. You will feel very warm and happy. But it'll leave you wanting more. So this again is similar because, you know, like they say, the story continues. Till we take our last breath, our stories are continuing. So for me, these characters are very real. So I feel I cannot wrap them up neatly and put them in a box and say, I'm done with you, go away. Because they've lived in my head for so long. And once you read the book, hopefully they'll live in your heads too. And they feel very real. When you read the book, you'll know. Like, you know, they feel very, very real.
True.
You really feel, and that's also because I have been to all these places. I lived in UK for some time.
I was about to ask you that. I mean, do you really research about the places, or you write about the places that you've already been to? Because I have never been to Kochi, but through this book and the prequel, of course, I could visualize Kochi so well. You have, the setting of your books are so beautifully done. So I wanted to ask you whether you write about the places you've already been to, or you research about the places you
I write about the places I have been to and lived mostly. Like my 100 Little Flames is set in Pondicherry. I lived in Pondicherry for some time. This book, I went to Birmingham, and when you read this book, you'll really feel you have gone to Birmingham because I have a friend who is a Scottish guy who does walking tours. So you will find in this book, Arush does walking tours. And so I have lived in all these places, and I have lived everything that the characters are living. I went to college in Kochi. So naturally, Kochi was a beautiful place for me to set the book. We would bunk college and go on Marine Drive, and that's where Pooja's house is, because really rich people can afford homes there. So yeah, I have lived in all these places. So it feels very real.
And what's the most fulfilling part of writing and publishing for you?
See, for me, it's the messages that I get. So I got a message recently from a cricket player in Kerala, a girl. So she said, I was injured, I was laid off, and I was very depressed. And I'm a very lazy girl, and these are her words. I'm a very lazy girl when it comes to finishing books. But I read your book, The Magic Mindset, and I can't tell you how much it has filled me with hope.
Wow.
I'm playing again this season. She got selected to play against Punjab and Haryana. She sent her picture as well. It was so fulfilling for me. Like this, I get
can imagine.
hundreds of messages. Okay, for me, these messages mean much more than awards, simply because through words and through my stories, I'm able to make a difference in someone's life. I mean, how lucky, how grateful am I for that? I'm so grateful.
Words are magical, we
Yeah.
say. And this reminds me of Maria Carey. We all have, how many of you know the hero song? There's a hero when you look inside your heart, there's no need to be afraid of who you are. You know, and that song, Maria Carey, in one of her interviews says that, after 9/11 attack, thousands of people wrote letter to her because that particular song gave solace to so many people. So that's what words can do with their magical, yeah. So Nidhi is showing time is up. We'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions for Preeti, anybody?
So this is a golden opportunity to ask any question from the author itself. So anyone has any queries, any question, any budding writers want to know how to be a writer?
Whatever questions you have, just ask. Don't think it's a silly question. I'm most happy to answer it.
I think Dr. Venkat has a question. Can we have the mic, please?
Silly questions often are the most hardest to answer. Because they're really not silly, when you think about it.
No, it's genuinely a question. I mean, you have been portrayed wrongly today on this event. You have been portrayed as a writer. Are you a writer or an orator?
Or a?
Orator.
A what?
Orator.
Orator. Okay.
I mean, such an amazing talk.
Thank
I
you
mean,
so
both
much.
of you.
Thank you so much.
Genuine compliments.
I used to win prizes for public speaking too.
Oh,
I was a
fantastic.
part of my college debate team.
Lovely, lovely.
Debate team, elocution team, all that I used to take. But just a minute. I don't know if you guys have just a minute now. Do you have just a minute?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
used to play.
Yeah, I used to take part in all of that as well.
Any more questions?
Any more questions from the
Anyone
young
has
buddies?
any questions?
You do not have to ask questions related to the book. You can ask anything.
Yeah, anything.
Hello,
Can we
ma'am.
have a volunteer help with the mic, please?
हेलो हेलो मैम मैंने पूछना चाहती हूँ कि वेरी गुड बुक एंड अ वेरी गुड टाइटल
Which one?
ये जो ऑल द लव यू डिजर्व
Yeah, yeah.
मैं पूछना चाहती थी ये कि आपको कब लगता है कि मेरा जो थॉट्स है अभी बुक में लाने का समय हो गया है कि ब्लूप्रिंट आप कैसे डालते हो कि बहुत सारा थॉट्स आने के बाद या फिर आप प्लान करके ही डालते हो तो व्हाट्स द ब्लूप्रिंट
हाँ, that's a very good question. So the thing is, I get many ideas. कभी कभी रात 2 बजे भी आइडियाज आते हैं. जो भी आइडियाज आते हैं, मेरा एक छोटा सा डायरी होता है और मैं उसमें लिखती हूँ. आप बैठ जाइए. मैं उसमें लिखती हूँ और जब सुबह होता है कभी कभी वो आइडियाज बिल्कुल बकवास लगते हैं. यू नो, बिकॉज समटाइम्स द आइडियाज आर गुड, समटाइम्स आर नॉट गुड. बट बहुत ज़रूरी है कि अगर आपको कुछ भी आइडिया है तो आप लिख डालें, क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं कि उसमें से क्या निकलेगा. सो आई गैदर ऑल माई आइडियाज़. मेरे कंप्यूटर में अगर आप देखेंगे तो बहुत सारे ड्राफ्ट्स होंगे कि दिस आइडिया. Finally, the one I choose will be the one that stays with me the longest. I'll keep thinking about it, and then I start researching it. Then when I feel there is something in this idea worth a book, then I write. So my themes are all like that. It will be Rule Breakers is women empowerment, 100 Little Flames is neglect of the elderly, Life is What You Make It is mental health. This book is coping with life in the current times, post-pandemic. You are fighting your relationship with your family. So when I think that there is something in this book, that's when I start writing.
That brings me to what's your next project?
I'm actually working on a sequel to Place Called Home. So that book is going to come out soon. So in fact, I've carried my laptop thinking that I'll sit here and write in Bhubaneswar. But Bhubaneswar is so beautiful, so many beautiful things, not able to write. So I'll go back to boring Bangalore and write.
Ma'am, you are a successful writer, and we came to know that your son and daughter both have chosen the creative field, and most probably you have some, how as a parent you help them to choose their careers, so that your suggestion can be an inspiration to all of us as a parent also.
To be honest, I just guided them, and my son is a tattoo artist, and he did it without my permission because I don't have a single tattoo. So, and then he was in Singapore at that time, so he learned this tattooing, and he started doing tattooing on himself. So you can check out his page. It's Shady Inks on Instagram. He does hand poked. Like most people just do machine tattoos, and hand poked is just like catching on in India. So, and he creates his own designs. So he didn't listen to me. He just did what he wanted. So. And my daughter, of course, she's very diligent. At 16, she got into college. She was the youngest. My son was applying, so she also applied, she got in. So as a parent, I just let her do what she wanted. She left home at 16. So suddenly, I was without both my children. It was not expected. So after 10th, usually people get into college at 18, 19. She got in at 16 because her portfolio was good. So then my husband is very protective, and all of us were very protective of my daughter. Because first of all, girl, secondly, youngest in the family. But I let her go, and that was very hard. For me, it was very hard to cope. I had my dog, my Doberman. Otherwise, I would have gone crazy without both my children. And I had to convince my husband. That was the thing, because he said, how are you just sending her? She has to do 11th and 12th. I said, it doesn't matter. Why are people doing 11th and 12th? It's to figure out what they want to do. If she has figured out at 16, let her go. And I was taking a huge parenting risk. But the thing is, my mom never let me do what I wanted to do. So I felt I should not do that to my kids. So I have to be, even if it means I am worried, even if it means I am uncomfortable, I have to let them do what they want to do. And touch wood, they're good human beings, and I feel that's so important to me, that they're creative and kind, and they're happy more than anything. So that's very important because I feel success, money, all of it can come much later in life.
We can take one last question.
Good morning, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, you are writing means a variety of books that I can say that many means one the book was you liking the most. Just next means excellent.
Which book I like the most?
Yes, ma'am.
I feel this is my best book. Okay, really, I feel, I'll tell you why. Because it is from 3 points of view and it is from 2 time zones. So, very hard to write because I had to keep track. This is happening in Sujit's life, this is happening in Pooja's life, this is happening in Arush's life, and the time difference. Okay, and then the story has to proceed, and they're all interwoven. So, it's so hard. It went through so many drafts, and when people read it, they say, oh my God, it's so effortless, it's so interesting. It took like months. I think this 4th or 5th draft is when I got it right. So definitely I would say this is my best book so far as a writer.
Thank you so much, audience, and thank you so very much, Preeti, for this wonderful session.
Thanks a lot, Mahua.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you again for this captivating conversation. We talked about the takeaways. There are 4 takeaways from this session if you all were listening carefully. Gratitude. Anything, maybe small or big. Be thankful for what all you have in life. Discipline. Do a bit, but every day, constantly. Failure is not the end of the world. After 40 rejections, she is the bestseller. And meditate to have clearer thoughts and be more calmer. We have become too busy with our own life. Thank you so much, Preeti Shenoy and Mahua Sen. Let's put our hands together for this wonderful session. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Please
much,
come
Mahua.
forward to have a picture.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And if anyone wants me to sign the books, the copies are available.
The books are available. You can get your copies and sign it. I'm also in the list, you know.
I'll be at the bookstore. I will do the signings. I think there are tents put up where you enter. So there's Oxford Bookstore. I'll be there. I'll be doing the signings there.
There's a small announcement for the delegates who have not registered. Kindly register and take your welcome kit. Thank you so much. Please. Mahua, please come. Let's have a picture. Preeti, you have to sign my book. Preeti. Moving on to our next session, women writing, 3 generations of women's writing in India, an interface. India has a rich literary tradition, and over the years, there have been 3 distinct generations of women writers who have made significant contributions to Indian literature. The evolving landscape of Indian literature continues to be enriched by the diverse voices and perspectives of women writers. In essence, women writers in India have been instrumental in reshaping narratives, challenging societal norms, and contributing to a more inclusive and diverse literary landscapes. Their voices have been vital in fostering understanding, empathy, and dialogues around issues that impact women and society at large. Can we have someone to rearrange the stage?